Hello and welcome to part 3 in our Introduction to Lesson Stack series with me, Steve Varndell, aka Rectangle, and today I'm going to show you in a bit more detail how I use Lesson Stack to design the activities that I'm going to coach. So here we have our stack from last video. I've got a warm-up, an edge stop drill and a cool down, and we're going to look at this edge stop drill in a bit more detail. Okay, so we have an objective, an activity, and a check for understanding, and this is the same for every activity on Lesson Stack. And what it means is when you have these three things together, you have a complete instance of coaching. So everything that I need to coach this drill is bundled together in this one activity, and that makes it very portable. So I can just drop it into any lesson plan, and I know that everything that I need to coach it is already in there. Okay, so let's add an objective. I want the skaters to work on an edge stop, so skaters will develop skill in 3 kinds of edge stop. Okay, so the objective should simply state what you want them to learn. Okay, the activity is how they're going to do it, and I'm going to have skaters work in 3s and run a very short relay to practice their edge stops. So skaters work in 3s, run a tight relay across the track, performing a stop at the track boundary. Okay, so I want the work rate to reflect the objective, okay? And the objective is to develop skill. So because they're running a relay, they're going to perform the stop, then there'll be a brief pause while the next person performs the relay, then they're going to perform the stop again. And that kind of work rate is what I use for skill building, because I don't want their muscles to become fatigued. I want them to perform a good stop, and I don't want them to pick up any bad habits. Okay, we've got 3 stops to coach, and I'm going to allow 5 minutes for each stop. So 5 minutes hockey stops, 5 minutes plow, and 5 minutes power slide. Okay, and before each one I'm going to demonstrate what that stop is. So coach demonstrates before each section. And the last thing I'm going to add to this activity illustrates something that I find really useful on Lesson Stack, which is that when you reuse your work, you find useful things that you want to use again, and when you can edit your activities really easily, it becomes very easy to reuse the good things that you pick up along the way. So I'm going to add a reminder for myself. And the reminder is that when I coach this skill, what I find a lot is a common mistake that lots and lots of people make, which is when you perform a hockey stop, you overshoot with your right foot and it becomes almost more of a spin than a stop. So the way that I found to try and counteract that is I suggest that people aim for 2 o'clock to finish perfectly at 12. So if you imagine 12 o'clock is straight ahead of you, aim that foot at 2 and they will overshoot it to 12, rather than aiming for 12 where they'll overshoot it for 10 or 11. Okay, so aim foot for 2 o'clock to finish at 12. And what you'll find when you coach and you reuse your activities in this way is that what starts as a very simple drill becomes a very complete piece of coaching over time as you find these little things that make the big differences. Okay, so the last bit is the check for understanding. This is probably the most important part because that's where you're going to find out if you've done your job as a coach. What I want in this drill is the skaters are going to be performing a skill. So in their check for understanding, they're going to perform it and I'm going to observe. So skaters will perform the stops, coach will observe and correct as needed. Okay, and the last part of the check for understanding is you plan for how you're going to correct when the students make a mistake. Okay, and this is really important because corrections can very quickly get lost and you can become a group discussion and you can lose track of the objective. So you need to make a correction that is clear and that is fast and that it preserves the flow of the activity. So I'm going to use what's called a wooden correction. I'm going to wooden correct individuals, and if the group are all making the same mistake, I'm going to wooden correct the group if it's needed. Okay, so what is a wooden correction? A wooden correction is a really fast way to make a correction, and it works like this. You show them the right way, you show them the mistake, and then you show them the right way again. It's that fast. Show them the right way, show them the wrong way, show them the right way. And you can perform that very, very quickly. If it's a small change, you can do it in 20 or 30 seconds. So you can really get in, make the correction and preserve the flow and get that student back on task as quickly as possible. If you've coached for a long time, you're probably familiar with corrections that can wander off track. So somebody might ask a question like, oh, would I use this hockey stop in a power jam? And then before you know it, your correction has turned into a long discussion and your objective has kind of disappeared. So plan how you're going to do a correction and stick to that plan. I'm going to show them the right way, show them the wrong way, show them the right way again. It's going to be fast and it's going to preserve the flow. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you in part 4. And for now, remember that great coaching comes from great planning.